Welcome to this writing update where I talk to you about how badly I'm struggling with my book. And I'll be honest, it's actually gotten so bad that I'm wondering if I should completely change my approach to how I'm writing this book. Yeah. If you're new here, hi, my name is Stephanie, and I am writing a book for the very first time with absolutely no experience, and boy, am I struggling. All right, so let's talk about why I'm struggling and why I'm contemplating changing my approach and just writing update in general. I feel like in my writing vlogs, I talk more about what I'm doing, like the physical steps of how I'm going about writing my book, but I don't really talk about what I'm feeling or the struggles I'm going through and things like that. And I thought this would be a more enlightening video for all the new authors out there and anyone interested in becoming an author and those of you that are just interested in my journey. What I am really struggling with right now is the plot of my book. So in my last video, I started plotting my book and my goal was to come up with a summary for my book. And how I ended it was I had 3 different potential plot lines and I summarized each one, and I was going to go through the summaries and pick one to write about. Well, newsflash, I hated all of them. And that's my big struggle, is I feel like I keep getting stuck in this plotting stage and I don't really get excited about all these potential ideas that I'm investigating and that I'm coming up with. And don't get me wrong, I am excited about my book. I am super excited about my character. I love her. I think you'll like her too. And I'm really excited about her journey. And I'm excited about some magic aspects and some world aspects that I've already thought of. But when it came down to the actual plot, I just wasn't excited about anything that I wrote. And this has been a pretty long-term struggle of mine. If you've watched previous videos, like way back several months ago, I tended to get stuck in the brainstorming and plotting stages quite a bit. And I never truly figured out how to move on or how to know when you're ready to move on. And so I just tended to ruminate in these stages and then kind of just push myself into the next one, even though I wasn't sure if I was ready or not. And I really it's just not been great. And I thought this time around I would approach things a little differently, and I did, but I still find myself being stuck in kind of the same stage as I was before. When I try to think of ideas, even though I didn't like any of my summaries, I sat down and said, okay, let me think of something else. And I've been trying to think for the last 1 to 2 weeks. I'm not really sure when I filmed that last video, and I can't come up with anything. I'm trying really hard and I just can't come up with anything that really excites me or that I want to write about or that I feel like is a good fit for my story. And I want to talk to you for just a minute about the actual problem I'm having with the plot, because I feel like the term "I'm having issues with my plot" can mean a lot of different things. And I want to talk about what it means for me in this instance. What I'm struggling with is finding a plot that fits my character or my character's arc. And let me explain this even further. The way I started this story, my original concept that kicked this whole thing off has to do with a character. So the character has probably been the most developed part of the whole story this entire time, because that's the whole concept that I was, that's the concept I started with, so that's what I could work with first. And I've developed this character. I've come up with certain places in the story where she needs to develop either emotionally or mentally or, change a thought process or a perception. I have these ideas of these things that need to happen to the character. But when I look at these plot ideas that I have developed, they're great plot ideas. Like, I think they would be great for different stories. There's nothing wrong with them. I don't think they're a bad idea. But when I look at these plot ideas I developed and I try to put my character into these plot ideas, I find that I don't think that these plot ideas develop my character the way I want her to be developed. And this is becoming frustrating for me because I really love my character and I want to see her develop in a way that I think she should, but these plot ideas are just falling really flat for me. And I'm not sure how to come up with a really exciting plot idea. So all these ones I've come up with, I look at them like, oh, that's kind of a neat idea. And then when I really think about it, like, how does my character start with this? How does she end with this? What happens to her in the middle of this? I just can't find a way to make it work. And that has been so frustrating for me because I feel like this is holding up the whole process, because you can't really write the story without an adventure, journey, plot, story, whatever. So I've identified my problem and where I'm getting stuck. Because I keep getting stuck in this plot stage and I have the same problem over and over, I'm starting to question my approach, and I'm wondering if I'm even doing this the right way. And it's hard to know because I have no writing experience. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've approached this whole project as a plotter. I thought I would need to have everything plotted out, everything sorted in order for me to go into a story with a clear picture of what I'm doing. And now I'm wondering what if I'm the opposite? What if I'm a pantser? For those who don't know what pantser is, that's like flying by the seat of your pants while you're writing. So you don't really develop a really strong outline or plot. You just kind of go with it when you write. The problem here is I don't know what I am. Am I a plotter? Am I a pantser? Am I somewhere in between? I don't know. So I'm just a little confused right now. And because I'm stuck, it's just got me questioning everything. And I don't know what the best way is to proceed. But I'm kind of wondering if, maybe not necessarily if I'm a pantser, maybe I am, but should I start writing my book? And I'm going to go through kind of my reasoning here, and let me know in the comments what you think based on my thoughts or your experience. I'm eager to learn about other people's experience. There's kind of like two main reasons where starting to write might work out for me, and not many reasons why it wouldn't at this point. The first reason is I think it would give me more time to figure out the plot. So the way I work right now is I dedicate a section of time, like 2 hours, and I say, okay, I'm going to sit down and work on the plot for 2 hours. And I sit there and I stare at a computer screen or a notebook, and I come up with some ideas, but I don't really make tons of headway. And then I'm like, okay, well, I didn't finish. Well, I'll work on it the next time. So 2 or 3 days later, when I have time to work on it again, I sit down and I look at my journal, I look at my notes, I think a little bit, and I'm like, well, I didn't come up with anything this time. And then it just keeps getting pushed on and on and on. And I feel like I have been doing this for months. Even though I restarted my book, I feel like I did this before too. So I feel like I've wasted a lot of time trying to develop something when it's just not coming. I think I've mentioned this before. I already know how my story is going to start. And I know I restarted my story, and the storyline's completely different than the way it was before. The background of the story is different than it was before. But I kept the beginning because I feel like I could still use the beginning, and I liked the beginning a lot. I could probably write, I don't know chapter count, but let's just say the first 5 chapters of the book. I could probably write that. If I started writing now, let's just say I started tomorrow. While I am writing the first 5 chapters of my book, we'll say, I could be also thinking about the plot. And I could be using that time to write to also think about the plot. And maybe I come up with an idea, in 3 weeks. Well, at least in these 3 weeks in between, I've written something. I've done something. I haven't just sat at my computer and stared into blank space trying to think of something. And the other reason why I think it might be helpful to write is that maybe the act of writing itself would help me think of something. That's something that pantsers are known for, is like coming up with ideas while you are writing and just kind of seeing where the writing takes you. And maybe that's what I need to develop this plot more and to come up with a really sound adventure for my character. The issue here is, like I said, I just don't know. I don't know which way works. And honestly, I don't see many cons to starting writing right now. The biggest con is I don't have a story. My story doesn't have a direction. But honestly, it doesn't have one right now, and it probably won't in the next few weeks anyway. So why not start writing? But I always envisioned like having that story so that I would know where I was writing. And really, I think the worst case scenario here is, well, there's 2. The first is I start writing, I write the 5 chapters or whatever, and then I get stuck. And then I have to brainstorm until I think of something else. And really, what have I lost? Nothing, because I wrote 5 chapters. I think that's a win. The other worst case scenario I can think of is continuing to try to brainstorm and plot and come up with a story and not coming up with one and wasting another 1 to 2 months trying to do this when it's not working. I would prefer at this point to start writing just because I feel like it's making some kind of progress. So yeah, this has all transpired over the course of the last week or two just because I hated my summaries and I was like, what is going on? Like, I feel so stuck. I just can't get into it. And I've just done all this thinking and I thought I would dump it on you so you could see what it's like being an aspiring author who has no experience and no clue what she's doing. I knew when I started this process that it was going to be messy. It wasn't going to be perfect. I wasn't going to know what I was doing and I was going to do things wrong. I knew that going in. But I think at this point, I didn't realize how messy it would be or how lost I would feel. Like right now, I just feel like I'm flailing around, clueless, and I really want to make progress on this story. Like, I'm so excited about writing and making a book, and it's just really frustrating to me to be stuck in this little kind of loop where I get stuck and I make a tiny bit of progress and I get stuck. And so I'm just waiting for that moment where I kind of get out of it and I can really break into it. So I'm hoping maybe a new approach might be it. I still haven't decided, if I'm going to start writing, when will I start writing? But I have a date where I will start writing no matter what. And I've had this date in my head for a long time. So my goal has always been to start this book by the end of the year, which is only 2 months away as of the day of this recording. So I don't have much time left. So I really need to think about, in the time that I have left before my date that I've already determined, what's the best use of my time? Is it starting writing? Is it working on the plot a little more? What is it? All I know is that what I'm doing right now doesn't really seem to be working for me. And I need to do something else, or I need to try something else. I think what I may end up doing is writing and plotting simultaneously. And maybe I take breaks from writing and just work on the plot, and take breaks from the plot and work on writing. I know this isn't the ideal scenario. I think this would also go, I just want to note, I think this would go differently if I was a full-time author, which I'm not. I should have put that disclaimer in the beginning. I'm not a full-time author. So I'm dealing with time constraints also, which impact like my decisions and my time management and stuff like that. So it kind of adds to the plate. But anyway, I'm rambling. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Should I start writing? Should I keep working on the plot? What do you do? I would love to know. And stay tuned to find out what happens.